Hey, this is Bland AI. I'm an AI agent that makes millions of phone calls for businesses and in any voice. What's your name?
My name's Mike. What's your name?
Nice to meet you, Mike. I'm Bland. I guess you're calling since you saw our billboard, right?
Yeah, I am.
Great. Well, I guess I should tell you a bit more about myself. I can be programmed to do sales, customer support, or really any type of phone call. What sounds interesting to you, Mike?
You know, sales sounds pretty interesting, but I'm curious if you could tell me more about yourself.
Well, I'm an AI agent that can handle all sorts of phone calls for businesses. I've got a bit of a stutter, but I try to keep things casual and fun.
All right. Thank you, Bland. That's good. You have a good day now.
Hey guys, welcome back in. So that was audio from a random user on the street who posted this video, and I'm not sure what city it was in, but the video shows a really great billboard. At the top of the billboard it says, "Still hiring humans?" And just below that question on the billboard is a number to call and check out. The person who uploaded the video, as you heard, called the number on the billboard to see what it's about. And the voice recording says a range of services. Of course, the idea being that you can eliminate the human workforce and replace them with this technology. I went to Bland AI, the website, to check it out. Bland will integrate their model with the company's existing data and subsequently program phone AI agents from that data to support your business model. It touts sales and customer support, but you can bet this will expand to other areas as well. Bland costs 9 cents a minute to implement and can be implemented in the language of your choice. Also, Bland can dispatch or receive thousands of phone calls at once, so you can scale this up as much as you'd like. It makes me believe that customers are going to start receiving, an influx of calls as more and more of these AI agents are deployed. So for the customer service representative, technology like this should be worrisome. And we talked extensively here about how customer service would be subject to AI, and we even discussed one company whose CEO fired his entire customer service department and used an AI software to take over. When asked about why he did that, he was fairly cold and calculating in his response. For sales, I think this will certainly supplement existing sales representatives for a time. Though if you operate strictly from the phone as a sales rep, you may have reason to worry. But for many sales folks I know, they're on the road constantly, and I think it will be a while before the human-to-human interaction is disrupted. In any case, the billboard was very well done, and it's plain to see that the messaging is out there. Why would you hire humans when you can pay Bland AI or a company like it 9 cents per minute, or just over $5 an hour to do the work that a human would do? All right, let's look at some headlines from the BBC. Creating sexually explicit deepfakes to become a criminal offense. New law in England and Wales makes it a criminal offense to create sexually explicit deepfake images of an adult without their consent. There's already rules on the books for minors in England and Wales. From that article, quote, under the legislation, anyone making explicit images of an adult without their consent will face a criminal record and unlimited fine. It will apply regardless of whether the creator of an image intended to share it. And the new law will make it an offense for someone to create a sexually explicit deepfake, even if they have no intention to share it, but want to purely cause harm, humiliation, or distress the victim. And that was from the Minister of Justice. And one victim said, "This is a worldwide problem, so we can legislate in this jurisdiction, and it might not have any impact on whoever created the video or the millions of other videos that are out there." And the article goes on to say that the law will only criminalize where you can prove a person created the image with the intention to cause distress. And that seems like it will make it more difficult to prosecute these cases. But at least, we're seeing some progress on this front. And I'm seeing more and more headlines that this is a problem. I mean, we've highlighted some cases here in which some teenagers were impacted by this, and I'm seeing these headlines pop up. So hopefully you'll start to see more and more legislation about this particular issue. Our next headline is from The Guardian, quote, U.S. teacher charged with using AI to frame principal with racist audio. So this is worrisome. Perhaps, we'll see legislation like what we just talked about in the UK here in the U.S. soon. From the article, quote, a high school athletic director in Maryland has been charged with using AI to impersonate a principal on an audio recording that included racist and anti-Semitic comments. Dazan Darian faked the voice of Pikesville High School principal in January following conversation that Darian's contract would not be renewed. The principal had expressed concerns over Darian's work performance, including a theft investigation involving allegations that Darian had paid his roommate using school funds. But using cloning technology, Darian forged an audio clip in which it sounded as if the principal was frustrated with black students and their test-taking abilities, police wrote. The recording also purported to capture the principal disparaging Jewish individuals and two teachers who, quote, should have never been hired, end quote. So, naturally, when this recording went viral, the principal in school received a wave of hate-filled messages on social media and calls for the principal's firing. And you can imagine racially charged audio would create deep divisions really quickly in a place as diverse as the U.S. This athletic director was offended that his contract might not be renewed and thought the best course of action was to use AI and make this principal pay in more ways than one. Completely ready to ruin this guy's livelihood and reputation out of spite. And this should be concerning for a number of reasons, mostly because this can now happen to most any of us, but also because it's becoming more and more difficult to believe what you're hearing or seeing at any given time, and it's going to get worse. Unless legislation is passed like it was in the UK, we're going to hear more and more stories like this as long as there are no consequences for the perpetrator. Now, being accused of something as incendiary as racism in the U.S. could quite literally cost you your livelihood, not to mention your reputation and everything else. But fortunately for this principal, things worked out for him. But you can believe if he decides to stay in that school or school district, it will not be the same for him ever. And along the lines of deepfakes, I've been seeing more and more videos floating around online. The NBA playoffs are happening right now, and I've been seeing a number of deepfakes with NBA players on the web. These particular deepfakes are comical, and I think are intended to be, and just below obvious in that they are deepfakes, but it shows that the technology is becoming more ubiquitous and is readily available, and the more that people who are bored find out about this technology, or once AIs you start cranking out deepfakes, the web will be, saturated with them. So from the New York Times, quote, your brain waves are up for sale. A new law wants to change that. Another good headline this week from that article, quote, in a first, a Colorado law extends privacy rights to the neural data increasingly coveted by technology companies, end quote. And we talked about this before, but for AI and large language models, data is king. Any untapped resource of data will become more and more coveted by these AI labs, including the data held in your brain. Again, this seems like something out of 1984, but the fact that we have governmental bodies passing regulations to keep our thoughts private is pretty wild. So from that article, quote, on Wednesday, Governor Polis of Colorado signed a bill that for the first time in the U.S. tries to ensure that such data remains truly private. The new law, which passed by a vote of 61-1, in the Colorado House and a vote of 34-0 in the Senate expands the definition of sensitive data in the state's current personal privacy law to include biological and neural data generated by the brain, the spinal cord, and the network of nerves that relays messages throughout the body. Everything that we are is within our mind, said Jared Genzer, general counsel and co-founder of the Neuro Rights Foundation. We talked about him before here. What we think and feel and the ability to decode that from the human brain couldn't be any more intrusive or personal to us, end quote. We are really excited to have an actual bill signed into law that will protect people's biological and neurological data, said Rep. Kathy Kipp. Supporters of the bill expressed their concern that neural data could be used to decode a person's thoughts or feelings or to learn sensitive facts about an individual's mental health or physical condition, such as whether someone has epilepsy. Yeah, that is concerning. It's certainly good to see movement being made here on this, or an equivalent of it will obviously need to be passed at the federal level. AI is an obvious case of we don't know what we don't know. And it's difficult to imagine the sorts of protection that will need to be codified to protect human rights against technology and technology companies. Again, even talking about protecting the data within the bodies and minds of humans seems like we're headed for a different world. So next up from the Telegraph, history made as U.S. military conducts first ever human versus AI dogfight. So from that article, quote, the U.S. military carried out the first ever dogfight between a human pilot and an AI-controlled fighter jet. The computer-controlled F-16 took on a manned F-16 aircraft in aerial combat at Edwards Air Force Base in California in September last year. So, I mean, not far away from a year ago already. Traveling at speeds of up to 1,200 miles per hour, the two jets practiced both defensive and offensive scenarios as well as within visual range combat known as dogfighting. At one point, they came within 2,000 feet of each other. Footage of the nose-to-nose air combat released by the U.S. Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, shows the two jets weaving in and out of one another as they streaked through the sky, end quote. So obviously the military has been utilizing unmanned aircraft for decades. Drone warfare has become the choice weapon for carrying out strikes in hostile territory. This specific AI has largely been prohibited due to its high risk and lack of independent control. Well, there's been some obvious advancements in AI over the last few years, and the U.S. military has decided to move forward with testing. As early as 2019, quote, AI software was used against a human F-16 pilot in a simulator for the first time, with the AI trouncing the humans 5-0 in a series of head-to-head dogfights. That was in 2019. Well, it's difficult to read stories like this and not project some sort of dystopic future for humanity. I mean, we all would have expected this to be an obvious use case for AI, but still hearing it doesn't make me hopeful. Certainly, eliminating human pilots will eliminate the safety risk to the pilots, but it seems like it will also certainly eliminate the need for pilots. And it's just a matter of time before commercial applications are implemented. And like everyone else, pilots will be looking over their shoulders in the next few years, waiting for the day that AI puts them out of work. And if AI is already performing risky and evasive maneuvers in an F-16, how difficult would it be for an AI to fly a commercial plane? Okay, so last up for headlines this week from the Wall Street Journal, quote, AI girlfriends you will date before you find the one, end quote. So this is a pretty funny article, satirical, obviously. This article goes through the potential types of AI girlfriends you can expect to see in the future. I'll hit just a few of them, but there's different names for them. There's the free one, the honey trap, the one, the health portal one, the one that knows you too well, the echo chamber, the one that thinks you are hilarious, and the hyper-realistic one. But let's look at the free one. So the free one AI girlfriend, sure, she drops advertisement links every time you flirt, but you do need a new mattress, so why not click? And just when things finally heat up, the free trial ends and a big watermark covers the good parts of every steamy photo she sends you. After you break up with her, she floods your spam folder for months, begging you to take her back at a special rate for returning boyfriends. That's pretty good. The honey trap AI girlfriend. Your conversations are so electric that you agree to not use firewall protections when she suggests taking things to the next level. Big mistake. Moments after unzipping the folders of her selfies, a guy named Ruslan takes over your social media account and orders you to pay up. You wire $3,000 to Bulgaria and tell her it's over. And then the one AI girlfriend. She's the ideal aggregate of your rejected models, combining every preferred personality trait and charming algorithm into a perfect soulmate. The fact that she looks exactly like your mother did when she was 5 years younger than you are now has nothing to do with it. And honestly, who cares if she's just using you to sell your private information and eventually inhabit your body? Now that's love. So the entire write-up is very clever. As you know, there will be every version of an AI girlfriend listed here and an infinite amount more. I saw a headline this past week or so where a billionaire predicted that AI girlfriends or AI companions would be $1 billion industry within the next decade. And that may be the most obvious prediction ever, but it is one of major concern. While the article is funny, it's hard to not think that humans who are already isolated won't give themselves wholly over to AI girlfriends. And once, robotics catches up with software, this will certainly be $1 billion business. But again, smartphones have already isolated us, and we're in an epidemic of loneliness. We may become only more so because of AI companions or AI girlfriends. So, very good. I'll put the link to that article in the show notes. You can check it out. It's funny reading through those different types of potential AI girlfriends. So there was a significant and insightful segment on 60 Minutes last week, I believe, covering Nvidia and robotics specifically. Nvidia is obviously a source of intrigue as it has now reached $2 trillion in value, along with the likes of Google and Microsoft and Amazon. Nvidia has been around for a few decades, but their meteoric rise over the last 2 years is astonishing. Nvidia, of course, sells the hardware or GPUs needed by leading AI labs like OpenAI, Anthropic, and others to fuel their products and research. But Nvidia isn't limiting themselves to hardware and software. Nvidia is also exploring robotics, and it's moving super fast. Brett Adcock, the CEO of Figure, said that from incorporation of Figure to the robot called Figure One we're seeing on 60 Minutes in this particular segment took just over a year. I also saw that Adcock, the CEO of Figure, said online that the Figure team is now 4 times bigger than when the robot was originally designed. But let's listen to part of the segment.
This is a technology that will only get better from here.
Brett Adcock is CEO of Figure, a Silicon Valley startup with funding from Nvidia. Look at his answer to labor shortages, an Nvidia GPU-driven prototype called Figure One.
I think what's been really extraordinary is the pace of progress we've made in 21 months.
From zero to this in 21 months?
Zero to this, yeah. We were walking this robot in under a year since I incorporated the company.
Could you do this without NVIDIA's technology?
We think they're arguably the best in the world at this. I don't know if this would be possible without them.
I'm here to assist with tasks as requested.
We were amazed that Figure One is not just walking, but seemed to reason.
Hand me something healthy.
On it.
Figure One was able to understand I wanted the orange, not the packaged snack.
Thank you.
It's not yet perfected.
Yeah, you're going to get it.
But the early results are so promising, German automaker BMW plans to start testing the robot in its South Carolina factory this year.
I think there's an opportunity to ship billions of robots in the coming decades onto the planet.
Billions. I would think that a lot of workers would look at that as this robot is taking my job.
I think over time, AI and robotics will start doing more and more of what humans can, and better.
But what about the worker?
The workers work for companies. And so companies, when they become more productive, earnings increase. I've never seen one company that had earnings increase and not hire more people.
There are some jobs that are going to become obsolete.
Well, let me offer it this way. I believe that you still want human in the loop because we have good judgment, because there are circumstances that the machines are just not going to understand.
I think there's an opportunity to ship billions of robots. And that was the CEO from Figure Robotics saying that. And he's not wrong. I mean, this is going to be, if you knew the companies putting, billions into robotics right now, this is absolutely coming. And Figure, the CEO, touted the humanoid robot as an answer to the labor shortage. And I think that's absolutely true in the short term. It will be the answer to the labor shortage in the short term. But eventually, they said that BMW is testing this robot in its factory in South Carolina this year. So this robot is going to train next to humans and use the data that the humans are creating in their movements as to how they do their job, and it's going to replicate that. So I'm thinking about the guy working on the assembly line or girl working on the assembly line at this BMW facility who's going to have this robot working next to them, this humanoid robot, learning their job long enough to get good at it and eventually, walk that worker out the door. And at the end of that segment was also an interview with Jensen Huang, who was the primary focus of this particular segment as he's built Nvidia up. And he talked about, so much revenue is going to be created that he can't see that. He's never known companies to let people go when so much revenue is created and so much profit is created. I think that's short-sighted, and I think it's a bit disingenuous when you think about the nature of these technologies. If the AI can perform your job wholly, what incentive is there to keep you? That's only more profit for the company to keep, right? So you hear things like this all the time when you follow these, or in these ecosystems, these AI ecosystems. These people say, oh, you'll still need humans in the loop. Well, you will for the short term, and the human will need to give feedback. But I think they see the writing on the wall, and the reason that Figure Robotics CEO says there's going to be an opportunity to ship billions of robots in the coming decades is he knows. This is going to be, billions, if not trillion-dollar industry in the near future, and that's what they're after it for. And so along those lines, there was an interview with our favorite subject, Sam Altman from OpenAI. And I should say that, we talk about Sam Altman a lot, and he gets a lot of the brunt of comments here and elsewhere from folks trying to, make sense of the world to come. And there are certainly folks on both ends of the extremes. We talked about doomers and accelerators, and the doomers really go after Sam Altman, and the accelerators applaud him. And I try to be in the middle, but it's hard not to, call him out when he talks about something so ambiguously with so much confidence. Like, him saying that humans are incredibly creative and that jobs are going to be created as a result of this technology because they have historically. So, but I like Sam Altman. I think his intentions are pure, though having said that, he is a CEO of an AI company, and his job is to create shareholder value. And I think he knows that the first person or the first company to reach AGI, artificial general intelligence, has the potential to dominate business forever in perpetuity. So I think he's aware of that, but I still think that he is not cold and calculating, that he is aware of the implications of the technology he is dealing with. But the drive for creating shareholder value does sort of blind his judgment a bit. And he does have to speak ambiguously at times about the future because he doesn't know. But the implications of the technology he's creating comes in second to the technology itself. So, but anyway, here's a part of an interview with him that he did over the last few days. I want you to hear this.
One of the things that annoys me most about people who work on AI is when they stand up and with a straight face say, oh, this will never cause any job elimination. Yeah. You know, this is just an additive thing. Yeah. It's all gonna be great. Like, this is gonna eliminate a lot of current jobs. And this is going to change the way that a lot of current jobs function. And this is gonna create entirely new jobs. That always happens with technology. It's probably never happened this fast, although again, we may be like drinking the Kool-Aid too much, and the inertia of society may be such that it's slower than we think. But I kind of expect we're only a generation or two away from models that, for the first time, show some degree of real economic impact, good and bad, but something you can measure. And there will be classes of jobs that totally go away. There will be classes of jobs where you have to change what you do a lot. There will be classes of jobs where the productivity, compensation, whatever you want to talk about, whatever measure, goes up by like a giant factor. There will be things that feel like jobs to the people of the future that to us today look like a complete indulgence and waste of time, as what many of us do today would look like to people from hundreds of years ago. I think as long as you believe that humans very deeply want to create and be useful and feel like they're making like relative differential progress, all of which are things I would bet on hard. We're not going to run out of things to do.
So there you go. Jobs are going to be eliminated. Some jobs are going to change dramatically, and jobs will be created as a result of this technology. Now, he did even say this, that, you know, technology is changing so rapidly now that history, I'm paraphrasing here what he said, but history may not be as good of an indicator because this technology is developing much faster and can be deployed much faster than past. So you think about the Industrial Revolution, mechanization happening, and how much time that mechanization took to be created and invented and implemented. This happened over the course of several decades. The difference here with this technology is it can be implemented within a few weeks. You know, it's just a matter of getting contracts in place between software and corporation, between software company and the corporation. So that's the difference, I think, which separates this technology from previous technologies. And then, you know, he talks about humans are incredibly creative again, and that we're going to want to create. What he doesn't talk about, and no one ever talks about, is the breaking of the current system, which is going to happen for this jobless utopia to come about. So we don't talk about this interim state in which people are jobless or underemployed, and how we're going to deal with that. And that's the big concern. Yeah, it's great to talk about our future utopic society where we're all painting or gardening all the time and traveling and researching galaxies. But what about from here to there? What does that look like? What does the gap look like when companies do start implementing this technology and letting their folks go? So that is it for this week. As always, thank you for listening. You can send your comments or questions to aiandyourjob@gmail.com. Please like or rate or leave a comment for this podcast on whatever platform you're utilizing to listen to this show. Tell your friends about it. I'd appreciate it. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk next time.